Before we jump into a demonstration, I'm going to show you first a little bit about the JQ Lite and just where you can go for the documentation, because it is a subset of jQuery, so you won't have all of the normal jQuery functionality. So if you run off to angularjs.org and go into their develop API reference, you'll see that on the left we have this angular.element. And this will get us into the JQ Lite functionality. In fact, here's the actual quote I showed a little bit earlier right there. And if we scroll on down, this will show you all the different functions that you have available with JQ Lite. Now, if you've done jQuery at all, these will be very familiar to you. If you haven't though, again, it's something you can learn very quickly by clicking on these, or if you want to use vanilla JavaScript, you can. The benefits of these are that it's going to work cross-browser. So now that we've seen that, let's run off to a quick demonstration here and show the link function in action. So I have a really simple directive, and this is the normal way that you see it. So what I'm going to do first is refactor it into what I like, and then we'll add in the link functionality. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of grab out this piece here, and I'm going to rename this. We're just going to call it link. Let's call it link demo. And this is actually going to represent our directive code right here. So what I'd like to do is focus on that first, and then we'll paste in what I had. And I'm going to go ahead and just wrap this over. And then we're going to plug in link demo right there. When it gets a little bit long, I might even wrap that down. Now, you don't have to do this, but as I mentioned, I like to do this because now I can focus just on the JavaScript piece and not so much be concerned about plugging it into AngularJS. But if you don't like that, you could do it how it was. But this is how I like to do it, and that way it keeps everything kind of together and it's very consistent across files. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is build in the link function, but this particular directive called link demo is really just going to do some behavioral type functionality with a little bit of DOM. So it's a kind of a DOM centric and a behavioral mixed. So the first thing I'm going to do is restrict it, and I wanted this to be an attribute. And the reason for that is I don't want you to use it as a tag, because I want you to be able to attach it to anything and handle different types of events. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we're going to do link, and that's our property. Now we can do either $scope if that's more comfortable to you, or I could just do scope. We're actually not even going to use the scope here, so it doesn't really matter. Now we can get to the element. I'm just going to call it elem, and the attributes. And we'll make our little link function here. Now from here, I can use some of that JQ Lite functionality. I could do a bind, or I could do an on if I want to handle different type of events. So I'm going to say element dot, and I can do bind, but I prefer to do on. And so I'm going to say on a click. Let's go ahead and create a callback function here. And now we can do something. So what I'm going to do is say, hey, when they click on the element where the directive is applied, and actually that should be elem, and this should be elem, then we can go on in and we could say elem dot, and now I can manipulate the HTML if I'd like. We could say you clicked me, for instance. All right, so that'd be one example. Now I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this twice, because we can reuse some of this here. And we're going to do the same type of thing, but we're going to do it for the mouse enter and for the mouse leave. And instead of changing the HTML of the element, we're going to say elem.css, and we're going to do just add an inline style to it. So we'll say background color, and we'll give it just a yellow to make it really obvious. And then when you mouse out, we'll change that to white. Now you could certainly do the add class and remove class, which I would prefer typically. But this will just give you a demonstration of the different types of things we can do with JQ Lite inside of our directives. All right, and there we have it. So on a click, let's go ahead and change that element's HTML. On a mouse enter, we'll go to yellow, and on a mouse leave, we're going to go to white. And so now that we've plugged this link demo function into AngularJS, and we're going to name it link demo, now we can go ahead and use it. So I've already plugged that in here. If we come over to link.html, I've already referenced the script that we were just in, and then I've added the directive name, link demo. So what we hope will happen is when I run this, as you mouse over this click me, it should change to yellow, and then when you mouse out, it'll go to white. And then when we click it, it should change the HTML to basically say you clicked me or something like that. Let's go ahead and fire it up. All right, and looks like it's not loading, so that's okay. Let's see what we have. This will be a good debugging opportunity. So it looks like we have an unexpected token there. I'm going to click on link.js, and it looks like that guy right there didn't need to be there. So when I upgraded this, it wasn't a perfect upgrade when I did the refactoring. We have that guy, but I don't need that guy. So that's something I should have taken out. And let's try that again. All right, no errors. And there we go. There's the mouse enter and mouse leave. And then when I click it, you can see it changes the HTML. So that would be a very basic example of a directive, and kind of gets you started though with some of the key things you can do with the link function.